Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Empower LEP Podcast. I'm your host, Jana Parker, licensed educational psychologist, group practice owner, and mentor at Empower LEP. Today, I'm hosting myself. It's just one of the very few solo episodes that I've done, but I thought it would be a really good time to just check in as we head into the third quarter and into the new school year. I talk about the growth of my practice this year, the podcast, the CASP convention, and more. If you want to be a part of the flagship cohort of our group mentorship program beginning this month, please sign up at empowerlep.com/mentorship-program. All right, listen in. And as always, I hope you enjoy this conversation as much as I did. Hey, everyone. Welcome to the Empower LEP podcast. I'm going solo today. I don't typically do this. You may or may not see a lot of it in the future, but I feel like I've been doing a lot of reflecting this week at the end of a very, very long week. And I was thinking about all of the things that have come up recently, as well as all of the things I'm planning on talking to my staff about as we move into the new school year. And I thought it would be a good time to just reflect on this podcast that's been going now for several months. So today is September 1st. And so I've been at this since December of 2023. So we're coming into the third quarter of the year now, and we've done 35 episodes so far. And that's a lot. And I just thought that there's so much going on with the new school year starting and a lot of things happening in my business and in life in general that I thought this would be a good time to just kind of check in and do a solo episode and update you on a lot of things that have been going on with me. I was inspired a bit by Dr. Jeremy Sharp. I don't know if any of you listen to the Testing Psychologist podcast, but I do. And he did a solo episode recently where he got really vulnerable, and he talked about the hardest decision that he had ever made as a business owner. And it was really about having to let a piece of his practice go and just kind of go in a different direction. And I really applaud him for taking the leap and being vulnerable and talking to his captive audience, most of whom do some kind of assessment practice or, I don't know, run a business, whether it be with therapists or testing psychologists. But he's a group practice owner, and he sometimes gets vulnerable about the kinds of things that he's going through. And I think I have learned so much from him, and that's part of the inspiration for the Empower LEP podcast itself, is because I want to help people understand the ins and outs of business and clinical practice. And I think that school psychologists are in an interesting position because they have this very, very unique skill set that is undeniably helpful in the schools. And we need school psychologists to stay in the schools. And also, everybody has kind of their own path. And once you kind of get mid-career, I think people start thinking about what else can I do? Should I do? How do I want to use my skill set? Do I want to stay in public education? Do I want to go into administration? Do I want to lead a school psych team? Do I want to speak at conferences? Do I want to do trainings? Do I want to get into research? Do I want to work for a testing company? Do I want to work for an agency? Do I want to do private practice? There are so many things that we can do with our skill set. And the podcast has really been a place for me to learn about, as well as you to learn about, all of these different amazing people in our field and how they've gotten to where they are. And I have just loved how the podcast has developed. I appreciate all of the conversations that I've had with so many amazing professionals. And I hope that you do too. And I hope that it just inspires you to think about something maybe a little bit different than you did before. And maybe it inspires you to take a leap out and step out and do something that you've been thinking about doing. And maybe it's just inspiring for your own professional career and you're quite content and happy where you are, which is absolutely the way that a lot of people enjoy their life as well. So I don't know. I just want to say thank you, first of all, first and foremost, to everybody who's listened to this podcast, everybody who's contributed as a guest. And if you are a school psychologist, an LEP, someone of a, a similar profession, and you want to come on and talk to the audience, I would love to hear about what you want to talk about and consider you for the podcast. Just fill out the application form. It's really simple. It's on the every show's show notes, and it's on the Empower LEP website. So yeah, the podcast has been going great, and I just really appreciate all of you listening. And if you have anything to share, come on the show. I have some really exciting guests coming up too, so I'm excited. This episode is brought to you by Empower LEP, the #1 resource for aspiring and practicing LEPs with courses, trainings, and mentorship opportunities. We are so excited to get our mentorship program off the ground. We are starting in September, and we will have monthly live mentoring calls with me, Jana Parker, or with Meredith Gleason. We will give a mini lesson that has been voted on by the group and then open it up for group questions and discussion. This will be a community of like-minded LEPs at all levels of practice coming together to ask questions and learn from one another. LEP mentorship is perfect for you if you are struggling to navigate the complexities of starting or running your practice, if you feel isolated and you're seeking professional support and community, if you want to enhance your clinical and your report writing skills, if you feel stuck or like you're just not sure of your next steps, if you're seeking accountability from others who are doing it, and more. Meredith and I have done it. We are doing it. We are living this LEP life day in and day out. We really look forward to supporting you. So sign up now for 1 month or get a discount with the purchase of a 3-month membership. Go to empowerlep.com/mentorship-program for more information. But, this is also just given me a platform to kind of talk about business itself too. And I say this over and over again, but running a business is really no joke. And I did not know what I was getting into as I was getting into it. I knew that I wanted it, but I didn't know everything that I would learn, all that this would entail. And I've been having a blast doing it, but I will tell you, it is hard work and I do not get paid enough, but I am loving what I'm doing. And I really wouldn't ask for anything different at this point in my life. But so I guess what I want to say first is, again, you don't have to own your own business to use your license as an educational psychologist. You do not have to. And in fact, you can make a very decent living if you get into the right circumstances without running your own business. I just had a conversation the other day with one of my staff about this very thing. And I let her know that she makes a higher salary than I do because I give myself a livable wage, but for the amount of work that I do, I'm definitely not making enough, but I am investing in the business and the practice. And so there's a trade-off there, right? I'm playing the long game, but I want to pay my staff as well as I can. But it's been a huge learning curve, you guys. My gosh, like I have said this before, I am not a math whiz. I did not know the first thing about how to think about pricing, how to set up a compensation structure. And so several things, let me circle back. Several things have happened this week, literally, that are just making me really reflect on all this stuff. And I thought I would share it with you. So what happened? Well, gosh, So I have been, because I grew very quickly, but again, kind of coming back to Jeremy Sharp's episode, I started off this week thinking I need to really rein it in. I listened to him and it reminded me that if you grow too much too fast, you definitely run the risk of things kind of getting a little bit away from you. And even as big as I am now, I feel like I'm right at that cusp of that happening. And I think it's because I'm giving away a little bit of my like power and control, but I trust that it's going to work out really well. So let me tell you what I mean. I went so at the beginning of 2024, I had 7 people working for me. And now I have 13. And I have grown I've hired 2 more psychologists in this year, and I just hired 3 more educational support specialists. And I promoted my executive function coach and educational support specialist who's been with me almost from the beginning. And she is now the director of educational support services. So I've made a leadership role and she is taking it on. And so I always thought, okay, I want to have a multidisciplinary practice, but I can't take on too many different kinds of people because how am I going to supervise them all, right? Or how am I going to not like supervise, but how am I going to consult with people on their cases when I don't do that job? One of the things that in my previous practice, I would always think to myself is, well, this is great. I'm glad that I have a team of LEPs with me to bounce things off of because there were 3 of us, but I didn't really feel like I could get the direct kind of guidance that I needed in my role as an LEP from my boss. I got a lot of amazing feedback and guidance from him as he was a physician, but I couldn't get that LEP piece. And I feel like if you're going to go and work somewhere, you want to be able to get some guidance from your boss. And so I want to be the kind of boss who can support my staff, or I have to have somebody either on staff or somebody that we can consult with off staff to make sure that the different people who do different jobs and professions that I do are feeling supported. Because not only do I want people to be supported in their role, but like ethically and legally, we have to follow, guidance and mandates and different things. And I just want to make sure that everybody gets what they need and has the training and experience and consultation when they need it. So that said, I was like, I am not going to take, I have a speech therapist. I have one of my LEPs is also an LMFT and she does counseling, but I don't feel like I can supervise counseling well. I do not feel like I can supervise speech and language pathology well. And I don't feel like I can supervise educational specialists well. I'm an educational psychologist, so that I got down. I have great conversations with my team all the time, and I'm working with them on their evaluations and consulting with them on cases and report writing and all of the things. But I need to make sure that everybody feels that way. And I think, again, in reflecting on the podcast I heard earlier this week, that is one of the key things as you grow, you've got to really take that into consideration. So if any of you are in this situation, maybe you haven't thought about it like this before, but it's easy to say, oh yeah, just come work for me, or oh sure, yeah, we'll offer that service. But there's a lot of other decisions that have to go on behind the scenes. Because another thing is like, you have to offer something that if that person left, would you still offer that service? Is it worth marketing and putting a whole bunch of eggs in a basket for one person and one person's area of expertise? Because if that person leaves, you're going to have to hire for that role, or else you've just done all of this research and told the community, hey, we offer such and such kind of service, and then you don't anymore. So you can't hire for the person, you have to hire for the position. So I keep circling around, but so now I have decided to bring on a couple more educational support people, and I have now a director supporting them. So that's what I mean by I'm giving a little bit of the control away. It's making me a little bit nervous because I have somebody who is the first point of contact for those people and is, so a lot of the work that they do, I don't know what it is anymore. Like, I don't know who those kids are coming through our doors. And it's strange. It's exciting, but it's also scary because, I feel very much like out of control. But yeah, that's one of the things and one of the changes that's come in the past month. And literally starting September 1st is when we are like really, really getting going with 3 new people. And another thing that just kind of is wrapping up is I've done this huge financial audit on my company. And so I hired a fractional CFO company who I've worked with in the past on a different project. They're amazing, by the way. But they have helped me. They've combed through all of my structures. So my pricing structure for all of the pricing for my practice, they have combed through everything that I am paying people, what my compensation structure has been like, what that means for my profit margin, and all of my expenses. So they've gone through my QuickBooks, we've reordered things and organized it, and now we're working on a budget so I can really see where money has gone, where I need to rein it in, and what the potential is if I can stick within a certain profit margin. And really, the goal is to have a healthy, thriving practice. I'm not trying to make all the money in the world, but I am trying to have a healthy, sustainable practice so that we can grow, scale, whatever people call it these days. But again, really thoughtfully. And so I have had to change my compensation structure, and I am going to be changing some of my pricing. And starting today, people are getting paid a different way. So I had to let everybody know in advance, hey, this is how you're going to get paid now. I've had to have conversations with people about what that looks like and why. I'm very transparent about it. And, I feel very fortunate because all of the people who have been working with me historically, who I'm shifting to this new model, I think they appreciate being here and working with Mind by Design enough to really take in and understand how this is shifting, because it's scary. It's scary for everybody. So, so we're shifting over to that today. And so that feels new, and we'll see how that goes. At the same time, 2 weeks ago, I decided I needed to let my admin go. And so she finished up on Friday, was her last day. And that's also so that's the 6th person I've had in this role since I started. And it's one of the most important roles in the practice. Whenever I have really high expectations, I do. But I will say that it is really difficult to hire the right person for this role. And there are lots of different ways that I could do it. But it just hasn't quite worked out yet. And then every time there's turnover, I then have to be the everything. So that's what I mean when I say, if you are going to run a big practice, you have to be prepared to be doing a lot of the business side of things. And only if you have really good systems set up and things running really smoothly and efficiently, and somebody else or other people to run those things, it all comes back to you. So part of what I wanted when I hired the last person was somebody who literally said, like, if I say something and I ask for something to be done, I don't want to have to come and check back in on it. Like, I want you to come to me to tell me that it is done, or I just want to trust that it is done. And that wasn't happening. So I was constantly going like, oh, did that happen? Oh, did this happen? And so ultimately, like, not enough was getting done of what I needed. I was still just as involved in most of the practice as I was previously, and that was not what I was looking for. So on to the next. So now I'm in this new, so now I have somebody starting with me tomorrow, and we've done a little bit of talking about things as we get going, but now literally if you have talked to me on like a Q&A call or in a coaching session, or in any one of my programs that I've done live, you have heard me talk about standard operating procedures, SOPs. Now, every single thing that you do, you should be documenting if you are running a practice, because if somebody else comes on, if you don't have these in place, you literally have to teach them everything. And so what I've been doing all weekend so far is I use Loom and it has a really great AI integration that I decided to pay for because it was so worth it. So I get on like every single thing that I'm doing, whether I'm working in simple practice or I'm doing something on our client tracker or something like that. I am taking a video of it while I do it with my little Loom video, and I talk about what I'm doing, and then it records it and it makes a standard operating procedure out of it. So it lists everything that I did. So then I can copy and paste it into a document, and then that's done. And then I can look and make sure that it doesn't need any adjusting or whatever. And if it does, then I just change it and boom, it's done. And so that is the way that I am getting this together for my new person. And then my hope is that now I will have somebody else who also knows how to do this, and then we can really see what we need. So I'm hopeful that this person who is taking over is going to be amazing. And I've also made some other decisions with how I chose this person. And so I'm trying something different, and we'll see if it works. So that is happening, and it's starting literally tomorrow. It's also I will also say it's very scary though, because who is answering the phone now that I don't have an admin and I have somebody training? Me. So who is also testing a client this week and has to write a report? Me. Who is like basically teaching this person and onboarding this person with everything they need to know about everything in the business? Me. Okay. So when you run a practice, you have to do all of that stuff. You have to be prepared to be like, okay, well, I will just create 8 more hours in a day because there is no other way for me to get all of that stuff done. Okay. I mean, I could at this point, while I'm recording this podcast, be doing something that's going to help get me further along in my training. But instead, I'm recording a podcast because that's my own procrastination. But that's fine, right? That's fine. I think this is important as well. So, okay, there are some more things that have happened, which is really interesting. So on Tuesday of last week, I noticed a whole bunch of moving trucks out in front of our office. And so I thought, oh, I wonder what is going on. And what was going on is that there's a suite right down the hall from me in the same building that is moving out. And they have, I have right now 4 offices in my little suite. And then I have one down the hall because right after we moved in, I outgrew this space. Now, this space is not outgrown all the time, but in the afternoons, it is outgrown, especially now that I have more people working here in the afternoons doing after school hours. And if somebody is here to do administrative work, they don't have a place to sit. They have to like go from office to office. And if all the offices are busy, then they come into my office. And if I'm busy, then they have to work from home. So I would like the opportunity, the ability to have somebody be in the office and be in an administrative role, because we are a community-based clinic. Most of our work is done here in person, and I want to keep it that way. And I want everybody to be happy and have a place to be and be able to grow the practice. So I signed a 5-year lease when I came in here, and within the first year, I already had to get another office space. Well, the office space down the hall has 6 offices and the option to put another wall into one of the offices and make it into 7. It is more money, but I ran it by my financial people and they said, you can afford this, which I will tell you again, like I cannot, I don't even understand how I'm working in with like all this money per month is like crazy. And again, like most of it's going to payroll, but I just, it's still like, it still just baffles me that that this is even happening and that I can say, well, this is a couple more $1,000s a month. Can I afford this? And the answer is yes. I'm like, what? It's because it's going to be more revenue generating. So, okay. So originally I had thought, oh, maybe I will expand to other areas around me. But what I realized more recently is that I really want to focus on the growth here before I think about anything else. Also, in terms of networking, I think it's very important to have a network where you're going. I have built this practice successfully because of the network that I've built, and I want to be able to continue to do that really thoughtfully. So I thought, okay, I'm just going to really concentrate on here. And like once I thought, okay, I'm just going to really concentrate on this here, the office down the hall comes available. So it has a huge open area in the middle. It has its own kitchen. It has a patio, and it has 7 offices. And so, friends, I am going to take it. I am going to take it. I'm like, it's Memorial Day weekend. No, sorry, Labor Day. It's Labor Day weekend right now. And the office is closed today, even though I'm here because I'm crazy. And it's closed tomorrow. And on Tuesday, I'm just going to be like, I'm taking it. And we're going to move, which is huge. I mean, it's just down the hall, but that's a big headache in and of itself. All the things I have to change our address on. Oh, but you know what? Again, like it's worth it. My team, when I took everybody over there, their eyes were like, oh my God. I mean, it looks like trash right now, right? I mean, it's like old carpet, old paint, people moving out. But the space, it's going to be so great. And everybody that I brought over there, even my husband, which I was really like, wow, you're telling me to do it. He's always like so hesitant. He's like, oh, I don't know. You should really think about that. I'm a little impulsive, but yeah, I mean, everybody was so happy. And like, that's what I want. I want everybody to all the time be feeling great about the place that they're coming to for work. And my goal as a leader is to have everybody live their purpose and be able to do the work they want to do, make them be like comfortable, have a livable wage, make the space that they're in amazing, and really support our community in a like beautiful, like calm, friendly, approachable environment where people want to be, both the staff, the families, the kids, like everybody who comes in. That's how I want them to feel. And so, yeah, I mean, it's going to be a lot of work. It's going to cost a lot of money to like do that move. But I really think that in the long run, this is the right next step. So that's like a huge thing that's coming over or coming on like literally right now. So there's that. Yeah, so as we start out this new school year, those are the kinds of things that are going on in my practice. As we come into the 3rd quarter, that's what I've got going on at Mind by Design. And then, I'm trying to run Empower LEP and I'm doing the best job I can. I have an amazing team that's helping me. I'm excited to have Meredith Gleason on board as another mentor. And I'm really hopeful that we can continue to be a support to the growing community of LEPs and just other school psychologists and other like-minded professionals who are doing great work with kids and families um, and growing the field. And I'll also say that CASP is coming up, California Association of School Psychologists convention in October. And I just looked at the lineup of speakers. I am blown away by the level of like experiences that one could have, the professional growth and learning opportunities that someone could have going to CASP this year. I have never seen such an amazing lineup. I can't like because I know a lot of people now, right? I know a lot of these people who are presenting, and I am bummed actually that I'm going to be there Tuesday and Wednesday, and I'm presenting a couple sessions on Wednesday, which I really hope you come to, but I won't be surprised if you don't, because there are so many amazing talks to go to on Wednesday while I'm giving my talks. I am doing one on business basics for LEPs in the morning, and I'm doing one on academic achievement testing for school psychologists and LEPs in the afternoon, both of which I am very interested in. But there are so many amazing talks all of the days. And after I present on Wednesday, on Thursday morning, I'm leaving and going to New York to present over in New York at their conference. And I'm bummed that I'm not going to be able to go to more sessions at CASP because there are so many great things going on Thursday and Friday. So I don't know, like I went to NASP last year, and I'm hopefully going to go this year too. And I presented over there, but there are so many, I don't know, like there are so many great sessions at CASP. I think that it's going to give NASP a run for its money. So if you are not a person who normally goes to professional development live in-person opportunities, I highly, highly suggest you look at the lineup. I will also tell you it is not cheap. It is pretty darn expensive. However, I think it will be so worth it for you and your professional career and growth. I mean, all of the topics, so many amazing presenters. CASP, you're really doing a good job with this year. Okay, so there's just like one more thing that I want to say or talk about. And it's that one other thing that happened this week was a person who I've known for a very long time, over 10 years, a professional in our community, our private practice community in the area that I live. I found out she took her life. And this is a person who was like a business kind of mentor to me. She had not the same kind of business, but like she was a great referral partner for me and vice versa. And we talked a lot about business. We had, referred kids to each other. She's been very prominent in our community for a long time. She had a really strong business and over the years. And it was, like a shock. She's worked with so many kids with different needs, and she has been so amazing with kids and families in our community and so supportive. And it really comes as a shock, I think, to me and my professional community. And it just goes to show like that you just don't know what's going on with people internally a lot of the time. And if you're someone who struggles with mental health, if you're someone who, just faces challenges that take you to a place that you feel like it's too much and you have thoughts like that, I mean, I just really encourage you to reach out to people who love you. Because I mean, so many of us would have been right there for her. I'm sure her family, a lot of her friends, her professional community. I feel like, I'm sorry, it felt that bad to her, And, this, she ran a practice, and it can be a really, it can be a lonely world. Being an entrepreneur, can be a discouraging world if you take on too much of your client's your client's state of mind, or If you feel too much, like this can be a hard place to be. And yeah, I just wanted to kind of end with just saying that we are in mental health. I know we talk to people a lot about these kinds of things, and we have to take care of ourselves too. It is really important for us to participate in things that help us feel physically, emotionally, mentally healthy and well. And I encourage you to do that. If you feel like you're stuck, if you feel like you're in a place where you want your life to be different, taking just a little bit of a step, dipping your toe into something, reaching out to a friend, talking about, or, it's just a little tiny bit of a change. And we say this to people all the time, but just a little tiny bit of a change can really shift things for you. Yeah, but things happen. And we all need to take care of the people that we work with, but we also need to take care of ourselves. I'm going to wrap this up. I appreciate you listening if you've listened all the way to the end. I love doing this podcast. I love all the guests that I'm having on. I also, through Empower LEP, Meredith and I are going to be doing monthly mentoring groups, and we're super excited about that because we'll get to really have some great conversations with people who are wanting support with business practices or clinical practice. And I have a lot of really great content coming out on Empower LEP, and I am just like busting my what to get a lot of that content up so that it's there for you, related to business, related to clinical practice, all the things. And if you're on the email list, you'll get emails about that as it comes out, and social media. If you're not part of the Facebook group, please join it. It's just the Empower LEP Facebook group. And yeah, I really appreciate this opportunity to talk to you all. And happy beginning of the school year. And I'll see you next time on the podcast. Thank you for listening to the Empower LEP podcast. Episodes can be found at empowerlep.com. If you liked what you heard, please leave a 5-star rating and review on your favorite podcast player. If you'd like to be a guest on the show, or if you have any questions for me, don't hesitate to connect. I would love to learn more. I can be found at jana@empowerlep.com.